Garvey the Dwarf, the player we had to kick. So a bit of a disclaimer. None of the players involved in this campaign were that guys. Except Garvey. The campaign is still going strong, and we just made it into the astral plane. This was way back in the middle or early stages of the campaign. The way I measure time passed with the game is through a particular player's characters. We'll call her Lacey. Lacey was playing her second character at this point. A homebrew race the DM had made for his world called Halfdragon. Kinda like Dragonborn. But beefier and wings/no breath attack. Anyways, Lacey couldn't make the session after the one where she introduced this new character. But the Halfdragon called Brian, I think, named Voltrix, was important to the story. Now, this DM doesn't particularly like the NPC if he doesn't have to, so he brought in a substitute player for Lacey. This was the being who would later go on to be called Garvey the Dwarf. Something worthy of note is Voltrix's personality. She was stoic, strong, and powerful, but she was also reserved and graceful, only flexing her muscles where muscle flexing was needed. Garvey said fuck all to this though, even after having her personality explained to him. Garvey played her as a 100% genuine murder hobo. He tried to loot, steal from, and murder literally whatever he could get his ugly little hands on. He only played as Voltrix for one session. Thank God. Now I don't remember when Voltrix died, but I do know that Lacey killed the character on purpose. It was around this time that we learned Garvey had been invited back to the table by the DM. A mistake we would pay for. Dearly. Garvey decided to play a dwarf. Fuck all if I remember the class, but it was some sort of sword swinger. Honestly, I think that every second away from combat was a physical pain for him. He'd try to rush through part and interactions that were vital to the story, and he'd draw his sword every time someone sneezed wrong. Needless to say, this didn't fly well with everyone, but we were quiet. Another thing about Garvey is that he had the terrible habit of starting conversations. No, not in-game conversations, but ones with other players at the table, during combat or during roleplay, out of character conversations. This hugely disrupted the table's immersion, as no one but the DM and I actually called him out to shut up. We'd actually have to say his name multiple times to get his attention, so he could make his fucking attack rolls. And even then he'd take at least 5 minutes trying to figure out what to do. This was several sessions in of him playing. And he knew the system. He even made the DM retroactively add damage to something because he forgot about a particular weapon he had. Now, these weren't the only out of character things he did that made us groan. No, he would insult and berate a particular player over and over, claiming geez guys it's just a joke. Trey's fine with it, right? Trey was not fine with it. We had to ask him to stop, which he did, but only for that particular instance. The last session he played with us, and the end of Garvey, involved him pulling every card from the deck of many things and getting mad about the consequences. This was at the end of the session, and he went home first to our relief. I ended up with his gear and his soul, and after the session we talked to our DM about booting him from the game. The DM said he'd think about it, and later that night we all confronted him and gave him the boot. Garvey hasn't spoken a word to us since. To our relief. Edit. DM told me the Brian character was actually called Voltrix. New to Dungeons and Dragons. DM made me quit after 2 sessions. As post from /r/DND. Some of the guys at /r/DND suggested to post this here. This is a rant. A long one. Share with me your stories as well. So, I recently discovered the beautiful world of D&D and I wanted to find a group to play with, so I went to Facebook and found a group with my friend. I wanted to play a tiefling rogue and RDM stops me and saying that there would be no room for tieflings in his campaign. Fair enough, it's his story, I roll a human. During character creation, my DM encouraged my choices in going for a very roleplay heavy character, high charisma, proficiency in social interaction skills and so on. I was super happy with my character and couldn't wait to play with the group as it would be my first time ever playing. Fast forward first session. There was no roleplay whatsoever. DM is not descriptive at all. Handles traveling from place to place pretty poorly and the rest FO the group has a super tough time with NPCs because the DM literally cannot play a character. I thought to myself, it's fine, it's the first session. We need to get to know each other and so on. I thought things would get better. But as we go into combat with a bunch of goblins, I now can see that the DM who's been DMing for a pretty long time doesn't know most of the rules and makes rules up on the fly if he cannot remember them. So all in all, some of the things wrong with this session. DM does not know most rules despite having DM'd for a long time. DM does not make his world interesting by being descriptive and engaging. DM gives our level 1 ranger a 5th level spell scroll after killing 2 goblins. DM lets us long rest every 10 minutes because of unbalanced encounters, not giving a shit about time in the game. DM gave us enough EXP to level 3 in the first session. All in all, I wanted to see if things would get better after mostly no progress in the story had been made. So I stuck with it and we eventually, after 6 weeks, dived into session 2. This is where it gets horrible. It is in this session where I realize our DM is really bad at making good decisions and also balancing encounters. So, we are 2 guys short today. One had said early he wouldn't be able to participate. One didn't show up. Clearly, this would make it harder for our DM to balance upcoming encounters on the spot, so he is somewhat forgiven. But no. DM decides, after 2 encounters with more goblins, that my sneak attack bonus in level 3 was too opus. Hands me a note saying I find a cursed box, and for the future I have a 50% chance of my turn being nullified because of looking at the box, and if I succeed in not being attracted to the box, all my actions have disadvantage, because as he said, it is only fair. This shit essentially ruins my character completely. There's no roller playing, so my stats are useless and now I can't fight either. Great. Fast forward a bit. DM kills me with 3. Almost impossible to dodge traps. Makes me roll death saving throws. I fail 3 and die. Some priest in a chapel resurrects me. Low level city by the way, and the cost is 100 grams. DM railroads us down into the very same mine I just died in, only for us to find an insanely unbalanced shadowy figure that can only be hit with magic. We're 1 warlock, a barbarian and a rogue, all level 3. Barbarian goes unconscious. I tell the warlock that we should get the hell out and we run. Shadowy figure has unlimited movement and can teleport. We cannot leave the encounter. During the combat with this one, DM fudges roll after roll, telling us what he was actually rolling. Oh, a 20. HM. That does not hit you. You take 1 point of damage, though is set to our, at this point, 4 HP warlock. Barbarian goes down, fails 3 death saving throws. Eventually we kill off the shadowy figure because fudged rolls, and we take the barbarian back to the chapel. Another true resurrection for 100 grams. In level 3. During all of the above, the DM metagames for us constantly, controlling our characters, saying that my character takes out the cursed fucking box every 2 minutes and so on. Also, he apologized for the encounters to be unbalanced because of the 2 missing people. So why in the world do you make my character useless giving me some shitty cursed box? Also, he told us that in another campaign he has a DMPC with insanely high stats, because when you're the DM, you get a little extra power as a DMPC. I wrote our DM today that I'm out of the group. Has anyone else experienced something similar? TLDR. Just read it.